Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Buhlali Bayile. I'm a young talent specialist, and what I want to focus on in this video is how to best prepare for that virtual interview. One of the first things that you must do when you know you're going to be having a virtual interview, make sure that you found yourself a very quiet space that's free from distraction so that you can focus during your virtual interview, right? So it's important that you find yourself a space where people can't walk up and down and around during that time. And if you can't find one, speak to your family, speak to the people that you stay with, and ask them just for that 30 minutes of no distraction during that time. The importance of this is so that you're fully focused. I see a lot of times now when we're doing the virtual interviews, there's a lot of people whose eyes are distracted. You can see shadows of people walking up and down behind them, and it does distract them and it does take them away from fully focusing in the interview. So quick tip from me, find yourself a room that's going to be quiet, that's going to allow you to fully focus on your interview. The second next thing, make sure that you're finding good light, right? I see a lot of people being on camera, but the light is coming in from the back as opposed to coming in from the front. And what that does is that it creates a shadow and people can't really see you and they can't engage with you. So it's important that you're able to show yourself well enough. So make sure that you are facing the light, right? So to sit in a way that the window is facing you and you can at least be visible during the virtual interview so that people can better engage with you during that time. Another thing, make sure you've adequately charged any of your devices that you are using for the virtual interview, right? Whether that be your laptop or your cell phone, make sure that you've charged it. I've seen people who come onto an interview and maybe they're using their mobile phone and halfway through they're asking for some time because they need to find their charger because their battery is low, and that just makes you look like you're not prepared, right, for the interview. So make sure that you've adequately charged your phone if that's what you're going to be using, and also that you've adequately charged your laptop, because it's going to be important for you to really just try and zone in during that time that you are being interviewed. The next thing that's important that you always have to consider when you're doing a virtual interview is that you have enough data, right? So it's important for you that if you're using your phone, you've checked that you've got enough data for your interview. And if you're using your laptop, equally, that you've got a Wi-Fi connector and that you've got good data and connection during that time. And if it does happen, because sometimes we do lose connection, even if it's not our fault and we've got data and everything, if it does happen that you've lost connection, make sure that you just stay calm and dial back into the interview. It doesn't take away anything from the interview, but it just helps in you having a very seamless process and seamless interview, so that it also just doesn't kind of shake you up in terms of your nerves and coming back feeling flustered because now you've lost some time. So don't worry about it when it does happen, because we can't always be fully in control of some of the connection issues that we may have. But if you can, make sure that you on your end have good Wi-Fi or you've got enough data to make sure that you can last the duration of the interview seamlessly. Another thing that's absolutely important is that you dress for the interview, right? So just because it's a virtual interview doesn't mean that you can dress up like you're at home. I think a lot of us fall into that trap where we think, because I'm at home and people understand I'm at home, I can dress like I'm at home. But no, it's still actually a virtual interview. It's a professional interview. So always make sure that you are showing up for the interview and that you're dressed for the part. It just makes you look like you've prepared, like you understand why you are actually there. So make sure that you're always dressed, obviously from the waist up. That's what needs to look good during the interview. So please make sure that your hair's done, that you look ready, and that you are dressed for the part. So another thing, please do not read off a document, right? So if you were to imagine, if you were coming for a face-to-face and a personal interview, you'd come in prepared, right? You wouldn't come in with a set of notes that you're going to read through as they ask you certain questions or that you're going to refer back to. It's not an open book exam, right? So it's one of those things that you need to prepare like you're coming for a normal interview. And so when you ask those questions, I see a lot of people, their eyes are diverting back onto something, or they've got something pasted up next to their actual device. And so they're reading through that as they're answering because they've prepared for some of those, those key questions that you know are going to come up, and they've prepared some of those things. And so you can see people are reading off of notes And sometimes it's distracting me because I don't feel that I'm getting the best sense from you. And sometimes from a recruiter's perspective, it doesn't look like you are adequately prepared. So happy for you to write stuff down and practice it before your interview, but during your interview, put it away, try to be as natural as possible, and try not to read off any document that you've prepared off of. So another key tip for those of you that are using your mobile phones, please make sure that you don't walk around during your interview. I know this sounds silly, but I've had a couple of interviews with students because they're using their phones. They may not have access to a laptop or anything like that. Because they're using their phones, they use the phone as if it's a video call, and it's not a video call, right? So if you've got a cell phone and that's what you're going to use for your interview, make sure that you put it up against something so that as you are talking through your pointers and stuff, you can be free from holding it, and you can actually use your hands if you're someone that likes to express with your hands like I do, that you can do that for your interview. Make sure you don't walk around. If you go back to the points that I've said before, find yourself a quiet spot. Make sure that you're in a good space with lighting, but make sure that you put up your phone somewhere so that you can talk freely without having to carry it or having to walk around anywhere. So one of the key things that I would suggest is always make sure you're familiar with the platform that you are going to be using for your interview. So whether it's a Teams call, whether it's a Zoom call, make sure that you're familiar with it, right? Some of you that are going to be using your phones, you may need to download the app ahead of time onto your phone. And once again, see if you can test it before the interview. See if you know exactly where the mute button is, the video button is, so that you know when to turn your video on and off, and how to also mute yourself as well. So that's an important part. So familiarize yourself before the interview so that it's a seamless process when you are on any of those platforms. And it's absolutely fine for you to use earphones if you need to, because we understand that sometimes the environment that you're in is noisy, even if it's not the room that you are potentially in. Maybe sometimes it's outside environment that does tend to become quite noisy. Make sure that you're using your earphones then so that you can be heard clearly and you can also hear the interviewers and the questions that they pose to you quite clearly as well. So don't forget to be confident as you are doing your interview, right? This is an opportunity for us to get a better sense of your personality, get a better sense of who you are, what you're bringing to the table, why you want the role. So make sure that you envision yourself as if you were sitting in front of the people that are interviewing you. Make sure that you're using eye contact with the different faces and different people that are talking to you, and make sure that you are fully present, right, throughout the time that you are doing your interview. Be confident, be yourself, and if you've prepared well enough, then you'll be able to really articulate yourself in the way that you want to, and you'll be able to present your best self. So make sure that you're showing a lot of your personality through a virtual interview, because that's a great way for you to showcase who you are and what you bring to the company. So guys, those are the tips that I wanted to share for those of you that are going to be doing virtual interviews. Be calm, be yourself, make sure you've prepared ahead of time, and make sure you're free from distractions throughout this time to really optimize on the opportunity that has been presented to you. Thank you so much for joining me, and all the best with any interview that you're going through. I'm definitely going to be posting some more videos on some more interview tips in the next few weeks.